Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AAS YouTube channel. And today we're going to do something fun. We're going to cover one of the scientific editors. And I am very happy to have scientific editor Smadar Naoz with us today. I know I blew that, but it was okay.
I can correct.
Please
Smadar
correct, please
Naoz.
correct me. Smadar.
Hi.
All right. And Smadar, what's your geolocation? What you got?
I'm right now at LA. It's really nice, very sunny and not too hot. It's pretty.
Looks very dark on that background. A lot of stars.
Yeah, this is the Milky Way is seen from Death Valley.
Very cool. Very cool. Did you take
How are things with you? Is it very hot in Arizona?
Yeah, so I'm in Phoenix on this July 16th, 2024 as we record this, and we are in our full summer mode. So the coolest temperatures occurred about 5 a.m. in the morning, a little before sunrise, and it's typically 91, 92 F. And then, of course, we'll get up into the 115s or so in the day. So.
Wow. Brutal.
But it's really good. It's all nice. Did you take that Death Valley shot? Did you?
My friend, but I was there. We were camping and yeah. So
very cool. Awesome. Very nice. And Smadar, what do you like to do for research?
So my research covers wide range of topics, from structure formation at the early universe, the first stars, the first galaxies, all the way to dynamics of black holes, stars, and even planets. And in my view, they're all connected through physics, or specifically gravity at different scales. And I think this is what astrophysics is all about. We're solving physics problems and physics questions at different astrophysical settings. And yeah, and this is what I do.
Maybe it's easier to ask you what you don't do.
Maybe, yeah.
So in all that body of research, did you find something that you found extra surprising that you didn't necessarily expect when you went into it? So
yes, a few, but I can share maybe one.
Okay.
So I did my PhD in cosmology. But when I did my first postdoc at Northwestern University, actually during my PhD, I was also very interested in planets in general. And I worked a little bit about planets, specifically in our solar system, with a friend of mine. We were both PhD students, and we were interested in binary asteroids and binary Kuiper belt objects, and what happened to them due to perturbations from the sun, gravitational perturbations. This was actually my introduction to three-body dynamics as a cosmologist. So my friend Chagai Peretz and I were working on this together. In fact, this was my very first FJ paper.
We'll mark it. We'll put that link to that in the link description below the video. Yeah.
My papers before that were on MNRS, but this was the FJ paper, and then I was really interested in three-body dynamics. But I have to say that in that specific work, I felt like I understood the so-called quasi-Lidov mechanism in a very limited way, and I didn't feel like I understood it very fully. And then when I started my postdoc at Northwestern, Fred Racio, who we all know,
APJ letters editor, yes,
yeah, talked with me about quasi and asked me, do you think that quasi can create retrograde hot Jupiters? So there was just a discovery of a hot Jupiter that is orbiting in the opposite direction as the star spins, right? So if a star spins this way, it was rotating the opposite direction. And this is surprising because of the way we think that hot Jupiters are formed. But what could I tell him that I don't understand fully quasi? So I had a deep dive into that, and that actually led my work on triples. It all started from there, of me trying to understand it fully. And it was very exciting journey since then.
Very
So
cool. That
yeah.
is a surprising result. Very nice. So you mentioned there that when you were a student, you got into the field of cosmology. And I'm always interested how people get into the fields they do, right? Because there's so many things that you could possibly get into. And so I'm curious, how or why did you choose cosmology as an opening topic? How did you get into that?
It's a good question.
I
Uh, well, I was always interested in planets. I did my PhD in Israel,
Okay.
and I wanted to do theory. And at that time, um, we didn't have a theoretical someone who was working on theory of planet formation or planet dynamics or
Okay.
anything like that. Um, so I kept that planetary interest on the side, and I did my my PhD in cosmology, which was it was very interesting, and I chose based on the PhD advisor. I went to the advisor,
Okay.
which is actually a recommendation that I give a lot of students because in mentor-mentee interactions can either kill or build careers.
Absolutely.
And everything is interesting. So my suggestion is well, everything is interesting to me,
Everything is interesting. Yes, I agree.
but everything is interesting. And I suggest often to choose your PhD advisor rather than your PhD topic.
Yes,
That's my suggestion.
I think
In
that's
fact, till
why.
this day, I jump from field to field sometimes because I find someone that I like and it's nice and I feel like I'm learning something from them and we have great interaction and become friends and I say, hey, let's collaborate. And then we collaborate together and then I get to learn something new and I work with someone who's my friend and that's really nice.
That is an awesome combination. That's lovely. Very nice. Very nice. Um, so we did talk a little bit about your first AAS Journal article. And what's it been like since then, since your first one? How, putting in different articles in the APJ, I guess is the way I want to ask it. So what's your history with the journals,
Um,
publication-wise, as an author?
I think, okay. I mean, I continue to publish in FJ. So
In a
that's
variety of
good.
topics, I take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Overall, I like it. I like FJ for many reasons, which is why I
Huh.
really wanted to be an editor. Um,
So let's
want
let's
to say
let's
something?
let's go down that route.
Okay.
What made you decide or begin to think about why you might want to be a scientific editor? Because there's a lot of
So
motivations people have.
yeah. So my thought about being an editor actually started somewhere in my postdoc. There was in my final year of my postdoc. So I hadn't, I said yes to an offer. I knew I'm going to UCLA. I had deferred in a year. So I had a year of trying all kind of stuff, maybe
Absolutely.
less stressed.
Yes.
And I always been asked to refer a lot of papers, quite a lot. And in that year, I decided that I want to reproduce the results of every paper I got to refer.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and I got to refer a lot of papers that year, but I couldn't reproduce them all. So then it made me think, okay, so I'm doing a great service, or I'm doing service. I don't know if it was great.
You're doing
Maybe
great service.
people,
I'll say it, you're doing great service.
I don't know, maybe people had interesting words to say about the referees who sent them stuff and said, oh, I cannot reproduce your
We'll
results.
come to that. Yeah.
Um, but I thought I'm doing this service and it would be interesting also to do like to oversee this this
Mhm.
process as a whole. Um, and also, I think that sometimes it was interesting to see sometimes how paper pass through more smoothly than others,
Yes.
and
Yes.
sometimes how referee reports were useful or useless,
Yes.
and it wasn't like I couldn't find the parameter that controlled that, and the hidden parameter seemed to me to be the editor. So, So that was an interesting, just an interesting thing. And I think that then as an editor, I have even a longer lever to influence than as a referee that try to be able to reproduce the results of papers. And also, I really like to be the first to see cool results.
Yes, that is a side benefit one gets to see. You do see manuscripts in general before they come out, right? Although people will post on archive and do all kinds of things, but in general you get to see it first, so it's kind of exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
So I like it.
yeah. So to some people, it might be a little bit of a mystery about what a scientific editor does. And so sort of in a weekly or daily, whatever your cadence is. So what is sort of a typical day in the scientific editor? What is it you do?
So we can start by so it's a journey that goes, as you know, in multiple layers. So we can start, I guess, from getting the paper, getting a new paper. I get a request to handle a paper from a lead editor, and then I check it out. I skim through the paper. I look at it. Sometimes it's just screams to me who should be the referees. And the choice to referee is usually someone who is not immediately connected. So not, not obvious conflict, but also, not obvious friendship, and also not obvious enemy.
Yes, very
So
good.
we're filled with lots of
Ooh, she's learned
lots
a
of
lot.
stuff.
Yes.
And also I'd like to choose people that I think can do a good job. So people that I read their papers before, and I think that they know, they write good papers, that I trust their work. So I will probably, like in this group of people that I just described, I will go more with people that I know their work. Not necessarily know them face to face or be friends with them, but just know their work. Sometimes I'll ask the student of, and I will inform a PI about it, just so it will be, because I think it's also a great opportunity for students, if they are senior students, if they already wrote some papers, to learn how to do it, because it's learning how to referee is really important. And it also helps, I think, people to know how to write papers well.
Yeah, and I'll two little comments there on that one. So I will do the same. I will use not first-year grad students, but I will use grad students who are further along in the process, who haven't refereed, and oftentimes it's a bank shot to get to the advisor, because the advisor will be too busy, but they have time for their student. Oh, okay. And so you get the student to go, and you sort of get both. Everybody gets both trained, and you get a good rapport. And the second thing I want to remark is, we are doing, the AAS is putting on peer review workshops these days at the AAS meetings. And so if you are interested in learning how to be a better referee at an upcoming AAS meeting, go ahead and sign up for one of our workshops, and you will get a lot out of it. So I just want to put that plug in there as long as you brought it up.
Okay, that's good. So what do you teach in
the?
But now I have a question. So in the how to be a good referee, is it like is it a workshop? Do they get to referee a paper, or what did they do?
Very good, very good, absolutely. So these are not slide orientated workshops. You are going to work. And there are two main activities within the workshop. So number one is you're going to read an article, a manuscript that has been submitted. And then you will read 4 referee reports on that article. In each workshop, you go in, there's a table, and at each table has a scientific editor at it, and 4, 5, 6, no more than that, around a round table. And so the scientific editor will lead the discussion about these reports, right? And so is it a good report? Why is it a good report? Is it a bad report? Why is it a bad report? Is it too sweet, right? That's another way to be bad. It's too good, okay? And so, yes, they go through 4 and they have the discussion. The room is buzzing at this point. Everyone's putting in their input. And then the second lab we do is writing a referee report. So we will read a submitted article. And now that you've learned a little bit about other referee reports, now you get to write one. And so they write the reports, and then they, the scientific editor at the table goes around the table, people share their reports. It's a working workshop. And at the end of that, you get a personalized graduation certificate with your name on it. And every scientific editor who is there leading that workshop will signs that certificate. So you get a hand-signed, personalized graduation certificate. You also get your picture taken with the editor-in-chief, getting your graduation certificate, and then you get a free lunch out of the deal. So what a deal. So I do encourage people to sign up for those. They're well worth your while. And even veterans, right? Even veterans who have gone through this, everyone learns something.
Well, that sounds like a great idea of a workshop. That sounds cool.
Cool. So I didn't mean to run you off track.
Oh, no, it's okay.
A side tangent. Okay. But so what does a scientific editor do? So the paper comes in, you take a look at it, you figure out who your referees are going to be, and then what happens?
But wait, sometimes the topic is, not something that I work on. So it's slightly harder. I need to dive deeper. And I actually need to make sure that when I start this the deeper dive in a paper that I'm, maybe the topic is less familiar to me, I always put a clock, because I find that I'll be so interested in the topic that I'll start to just read more and more and read papers about it. And, I also have a very busy day. So I'll keep a clock that I'll make sure that I'll do, like I have a timer to make sure that I'll do it and I'll be on task. And then later, when I have some time, I'll go and read more about this, because now I'm interested in how you do
in the actual science. Or
so
very good.
Like a deeper dive. And then I will try my luck, right? I will contact people, even sometimes people who may be very, very senior. And just that they'll give me a list of people that they recommend.
Right.
Because recommendations are always very helpful
Absolutely. Do that, people. If you can't do it, make some recommendations. And oftentimes, it'll just trigger something in the scientific editor's mind, like, oh yeah, I didn't go down that alley, right? Maybe I should go down that route and then try that route. So yeah, they're very useful.
Yep.
Just so very cool. Okay.
All right. So then I send the email to the potential referee. Hopefully they accept. And we wait.
Quickly.
And
then we wait. Yes.
Maybe we nudge the referee a little bit. And then we get the referee report back, and I read it, and I want to see that, first of all, it's on topic, that it uses appropriate language, and that it's relevant. Sometimes the report will be on one section of the entire paper. And at that point, depending my understanding of the paper and what I think, I may ask for another referee, or I might say, okay, this is the important section, and this is why it's so before I send the report to the author or to the authors, I will actually take a very careful look and even edit the report if needed.
Absolutely.
If the report uses some strange language, even if it's sometimes unclear, or I don't think that the referee wanted to be condescending, but it sounds so bad.
No condescending. No.
No, nothing personal.
You absolutely should edit those, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be reviewing the science, not the people.
And I often change things that are, well, I change language that can be personal. Something that is like something along the line of, oh, the authors should know, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know. That's not.
Review the research, not the researcher.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the research, not the researchers. What the authors may or may not know is not relevant for a report.
Yep. Exactly.
Wow. Okay. So you go through the report, you may or may not redact it, you may or may not rechange it, you may lots of decisions one could make. Then what happens?
Then I send it to the authors, and then I make a decision, right? Maybe there's a tree of possibilities here, like branches. So it can be just revise. I think it's often the case to revise. Sometimes it's such a stellar thing, accept as is. I am still a newbie. I didn't have any thing like that yet.
So when did you start being a scientific editor? How long have you been?
January.
January. So you've been doing this 6 months. You're getting seasoned. It's great. But yeah, on occasion there will be ones where it's a really well-written paper.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does happen. So how many of those accept as is have you had so far?
It was almost one. So there are like some minor things that they can, do in the proof. So
okay.
Yeah, almost
they
one.
do happen, but they are pretty unusual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they did have some reject. So the reject are tougher. So first of all, to the authors that their papers got rejected. Sometimes it happens, doesn't mean anything. I got a paper rejected from FJ.
Truth, I've had one rejected from APJ letters. So, when somebody once said to me, if you don't have a paper rejected, you're not trying hard enough.
Well, I had a paper rejected, I think, and it's one of my very influential papers, right? I published it elsewhere.
Very good.
It happens, right? It's sometimes just a combinations of the choice of the referees.
Correct.
Then when you go to a second referee route, if your paper got rejected and you say, I want a second referee, most of the times the second referee will see the report. So that induces bias. Unless I think that the report is completely bonkers, then I wouldn't even send it. I will,
So typically when I do a second referee, I don't inform them of the first report because I don't want them to be biased. I'm not looking for them to adjudicate. So I will typically ask them, please give me your clean sheet review despite anything you might be able to see. Because I'm really looking for a second opinion, not, was the first referee okay or not? That's my decision. That's not your decision. So give me.
I think it depends. So in fact, Frank,
depends.
The only paper that I got rejected in FJ, you were my editor. I don't know if you remember.
Now I'm really embarrassed.
No, it's okay. But it happens.
It happens. So what year was this?
This was 2011.
Okay. Ooh, that was a while ago. So I started in 2009. So I had probably been in about 2 years at that point. So it was nothing personal.
I didn't think so.
Nothing
personal. It's okay.
But
I didn't think it was personal. It was rejected, and so it was sent to first referee, and the second referee did see the first referee. I didn't think that the comments were from the referee were I thought that they were actually personal, but sort of like marginal, something like that. It's fine. It actually kind of referred to me to which group it was that.
Oh yes, author's favorite game.
Yes, yeah.
Who is the referee? Favorite game. Yeah. Well,
but that's the point, right? It happens. And it doesn't mean that the science is bad, and it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It just humans are humans, and it's okay, right? So.
And there is, as you mentioned, there is a little bit of a stochastic process to it, right? Yes. It's not random, but there is a stochasticness to it. Depends who you're asking for the referee, there's just a certain randomness to it, I guess.
So even though I don't have a lot of statistics from the papers that went through rejection route and when I was an editor, there were some that went through a second referee and got a very good, continuation and progress and are in the process of getting published or soon to be accepted, I think. And some, some had some flaws in them.
Yes.
So, and some I think the authors are still thinking, because sometimes, I think that the whole idea of a peer review is excellent because it gets someone with fresh set of eyes to
Right.
take a look at something, right? When we're so deep in the weeds of things, it's so hard to see the forest from the trees.
Yep.
And sometimes a whole set fresh of eyes of someone who, you know, has a completely different take on it, if they can put their ego aside, it's a wonderful process.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of great things from it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if someone does pour their ego in it, you know about that then, right? And that's really important.
Yes.
So even though, you know, so when my paper got rejected, I thought, okay, now I know how the community sees this paper, right? And it took me 2 years to
Remold it.
well, I didn't make a lot of changes there, but I did when in talks that I gave, change the I don't know, the tempo, the rhythm in which I
Okay.
presented this project,
Okay.
just because it made me realize how people perceive it. And that was such a valuable lesson. So I didn't mean to give you a hard time. I actually meant to thank you.
No. I don't. No. So yeah, I'm gonna make a couple comments. So, yeah, I have had authors actually thank me at the end of the day for rejecting their paper. That sounds weird until exactly the point. I actually learned something that people are not perceiving it as I wanted it to be perceived. Right. So there was something wrong with the writing. So they actually thank for the rejection. And then they go back and they modify it, and it comes back and it's a much better paper on the second round, even if it's to the APJ or some other journal at that point. So yeah, referee rejection can be an opportunity for improvement. And some authors really appreciate that. Of course, some authors send you the nasty gram. How dare you reject my great paper? Those are always amusing. Yeah. And the second point I wanted to touch there was I've gotten much better since 2009.
I don't know. I don't think you did something wrong.
Oh no, I'm not saying I did anything wrong, but the more time you do this, the better at it you get. You learn how to refine that. And so yeah, 2009, I was 2 years into it. I'm now, good grief, 15, 16 years into it. And so you just learn things as you go. So it's great. So very good. Very good. Yeah, let's go down. Oh no, so let me ask a couple of questions just on numbers. So typically how many new manuscripts will you get in a week, roughly?
I should have a statistic because I'm actually keeping track, but I forgot to check.
4 or 5 a week, probably. It's kind of a typical.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, typical load is 4 to 5 a week. And so in steady state, you've probably got 30, 40 in various stages, right? Most of it waiting for authors to revise. So yeah, okay. Very good. So let's go down that route a little bit. So when you first get that manuscript and it comes on in, what are some of the things that you look for that make for a good, solid initial submission?
So, okay, it's gonna sound really funny, but
Okay.
the thing that I think is important is to have a good title initially. So I like cute titles. I mean, in my group we use it a lot.
Okay.
But then we do a column or a semi-column
Yeah.
with an explanation of what the hell do we mean?
What the mystery is there, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and sometimes there are titles that are neither here nor there, and I have no idea even what's the topic about. And I think for a referee, it's going to be even more challenging.
Right.
And then a good abstract that starts with the context, right? And then, right, we all everything in life, everything is divided into three. This is right. Everything in life is triples. So when you write a paper, my advice is to is the parts of the paper is, the context, and then what did we do, and then why it matters, right? So this is basically the flow of a paper. It's the flow of an abstract. it's also the flow of the discussion, right? In the discussion, what's the context? What did we do? And it can have different weight for each of these three parts, but this is basically it.
Good.
So the abstract needs to tell me what's the context, what did you do? So here we show it's blah, and that's important because blah, right? These are things that already for me, it's like, okay, now I understand what's going on here, right? The new part is X. So that's cool, right? Highlighting the new part is really important.
Very important. That's the significant new results, right? That's the metric for publication, right?
Yeah.
So,
if it's not novel, if it's not new.
And I want to reiterate that point about stating what it is that's novel or original in your article, right? Because otherwise, if you don't say that, you're leaving it to a reader, a referee, an editor to guess what is your significant new results. And you don't want to have people guessing what it is that's significant here.
And even a null result is important, right? We didn't find X. This is new, right? It's maybe disappointing, and it's okay, right?
But it's okay.
But it's important to say it, right? Sometimes I think when people have null results, they kind of all of a sudden talk a lot about the methodology and then kind of hide the fact that it's a null result. I think shout it out, say we did all of this under the expectation that we will have X and we didn't find X. What does it mean? It means something, right? So what is it? What does it mean?
So let me give a concrete example of that. I know Ice Cube loves me because I take a lot of Ice Cube papers. But many of the Ice Cube results are null results, right? We look for high energy neutrinos here and here. And so, but they turn the null result into an upper limit, which is a valuable thing to have. So even though it's a null result, it is valuable to have and talk about. So yes, I totally agree with you.
Yep. So I think it's important. I think sometimes papers that have complicated referee processes are sometimes just like missing the why is it important piece of information. So this is part of what I look, and then I go and look at the plots.
Okay.
I want to see that I can identify a signature plot, and that tells me that this new thing that I found is shown here, right? One picture says 1,000 words.
Although I would encourage putting a quantitative result in the abstract.
Oh, but they say something right in the abstract, and then they have their plot, so that's important.
Yeah.
Good. And then a little bit on the discussion to see that there is one and there's something important that they found. That's right. That's looking for the three parts that I'm searching for, and if this is a paper that I feel like I need to learn more about, I will look at the introduction. I would read more the introduction than, if this is like something that I do on a daily basis, then I don't need to see the introduction. But if it's something that I know that I'm going to read a lot about later, because that sounds really cool, and I want to work on that too. So I will read the introduction.
I have to admire your wide openness to new topics. It's great.
Well, every summer I take the summer to learn something new or refresh my memory on something new. So I have like a plan. Not always I execute the plan because something else suddenly distract me, but I'll try. And sometimes I'll write something, like I'll have some new results on this something new, and sometimes I just learn something new, and it's nice. Right? Isn't this why we're here? We want to learn, right? We like the learning part.
Keep that curiosity, that childlike asking questions. Yes, that's exactly it. I always want to be learning new things.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take a look at the article and things that make it important. You go ahead and you select the referee. You ship it out to a referee, and so let's take each side of that, because you are in between the referee and the author. So when the manuscript goes to the referee, do you have any tips, guidance on referees on writing a referee report?
Yeah. So my suggestion is, well, I said some of it before. Don't be personal. Make sure that you evaluate the the research, not the person.
The researcher.
And then my suggestion is start with a general explanation of what the paper is about. There are several reasons why that's important, in my opinion. One is, first of all, it tells the authors that you actually read their paper.
Yes. Yes.
and not search for your publications and citations. So, just again, very human thing to do. Where right, this is a
it's a human business.
competitive
This
field.
is a human business, right?
Yeah.
With all the complications thereof.
So it's perfectly fine to say, oh, you should have cited blah, 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 right? And you can put yourself there, but
Sure.
write what the paper is about. And that's important because if there are concrete suggestions that as a referee you are making, if you misunderstood somehow the paper, what is a paper about, or maybe the authors were not very clear on what they meant,
Good.
this is where it can be solved, right? They can say, okay, we realize we didn't explain well what we actually meant to do here. Here is a revision of what we've tried, we revised it, now it's better, right? It's really, really helpful. It just clarifies everything.
Good. Very good.
And then I think it's, we always say it in the instructions to referee to break it down if needed to major and not that major. But also no need to go and find every single typo unless it's like an equation, but it is someone at double E where it shouldn't. Okay. It's
you can mention a few of those, but
yeah.
referees are not copy editors. All that, unless the language is so bad that it's impeding the understanding of the science.
Yes.
That's a whole different case. But yeah, in general, referees should not be copy editors.
Yeah.
Focus on science. So very good. Good.
And then my suggestion is make suggestions, right? At the end of the day, this is just like, this is not your paper. Maybe,
yes.
they're not going to do this the way that you have written it.
Good.
They're doing it their own way. So you can make a suggestion. You can say, I suggest you'll do blah, 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 right? They can decide to ignore it. And if this is something big and critical, right, you can decide as the referee not to let it go. But if it's if it's a suggestion to make this a little bit different, it's a suggestion. I think it's a recommendation, and it comes from a good place to strengthen the paper rather than rewrite the paper. I would have done this and I would have done this. So,
right, you're not a co-author here, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, very good, very good. Yeah, you are good at this.
I'm still a newbie. I don't know what I'm probably screwing up.
You're gonna be awesome in a few years. You've already got it well greased. Okay, so there's some guidance for the referee. That referee report comes in. You take a look at it. You may or may not modify things depending on how it goes, but let's just say it's kind of a normal report, and everything's on the up and up. And so now it goes off to the authors, and then the authors have up to, at least for the main journals, 6 months to revise, and some do take that 6 months.
Yeah.
But do you have any tips and or guidance for authors on replying to a referee report?
Yeah. So my suggestion, when you answer point by point, copy the text you've changed. You want to make the life of your referee the easiest
as possible.
Yes. That if the referee wrote something that maybe sounded to you so harsh, but to them, they thought it was a great paper, and you send a reply that now they need to go and reread the entire paper just to figure out what changes you've made, because it's a headache. But if it's just, you just say the referee said blah, we made these changes here, you can find it in paragraph X in section Y. Here it is now, or line number, and here it's copied here, and you can see it. That makes the referee, oh, great, wonderful.
Right.
And sometimes, sometimes referees are also human.
Yes.
We're talking about humans making science.
Yes.
So throw them a bone here and there. If they are saying, something that sounded to you like not amazing, it's okay. If it's a little change, you can throw them a bone, make them feel better.
A
You know,
little,
if
a
it's,
little compliment goes a long way.
yes, yeah. Thank you. The referee had an excellent point here, and we're thinking of making these changes. We added blah, blah, blah. However, the main topic of the paper remains to be something completely different, right?
Yeah.
That's a nice way to not getting into an argument
Right.
with a referee and just to get the ball rolling.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. If you want to have a long, drawn out review process, start arguing with the referee.
Yes.
And most of the changes are not that large in the normal cases. So, yeah,
And
very.
and then I would also say that if sometimes there's some, you as the author see some things that the referee didn't see, or there is some, you think misunderstanding, or they want to take the paper into a completely different direction, you can write us as the editors and say, look, the paper is on X. We meant to do blah, 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 as is written here and here and here.
Mhm.
The referee is asking something completely different, which
Right.
is left to something else, right? We tried once, maybe 2 times, and it doesn't work. We ask you to make a decision, right? That's the point of an editor. It's like an arbiter.
Arbitrary. Something of that order. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to loop back on that one thing. It used to be, if you go back and look in the APJ literature from 70s and 80s, and it was very, very common to thank the referee at the end of the acknowledgement. And I forget the exact statistics on that at the moment and the numbers, but that trend is clearly gone away as time goes on. And typically these days, less than 10% of articles will thank the reviewer for their input. And so if you want to do something nice, to use your phrase, throw the bone, give an acknowledgement. Say, we thank the referee, the anonymous referee, for improving this manuscript or this article. And that's great.
Yeah. And referee is a thankless job. And most of the times no one knows who their referee is. So
Yes,
it is
most of the
right,
time.
you as the referee, we work as referees, we work really hard to improve papers that are not ourselves, maybe
Right.
competition even, right? To
Yes, yes,
make
yes.
sure that science is rigorous, that is correct, and that it's worth doing science. Otherwise, we're bloggers. So
I could be mean and say archive posters, but I won't. Oh, very good, very good, very good. Okay. Well, I think that's really good advice. I think at 6 months you are doing fantastic. So
thank you. That
congratulations.
remains to be seen. I'm pretty sure I'm screwing up a lot, but part of the learning process.
Yeah, well, if you run into a tough case, don't, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Happy to share what little I know about the process. So very good. And one last thing. So we covered referees and authors and all that. Is there anything else that you would like to share about the peer review process?
I want to thank the management team, and specifically, I want to thank Alex, who is answering emails in record times. I don't know if she ever asleep, because no matter in which time zone I will be, and I'll send her an email, and she emails so fast and always very, very helpful. So thank you, Alex.
And just to clarify that a little bit, so when you submit a manuscript, so we do have a management team, and Alex is the head of that. So they do all the ingestion up front, and they do the quality control checks. They're running cross-check things. So there's a lot of work that goes on before the scientific editor ever sees it. And so they take care of all of that. And they also take care of the back-end process. Once a manuscript is accepted, it goes through a process before it gets shipped off to production. So I think I completely agree with Smadar that if we didn't have that, they're really valuable. Very, very valuable. So good shout out to them. Smadar, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Very good. Yeah, that's awesome. And I wish you a long and happy career as a scientific editor. So however long you do it. So very cool. And that will do, everyone. And I hope this made your astronomy day just a little bit better. And we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.